Are you preparing for the Praxis 5025 Early Childhood Education exam? This video will give you the confidence and strategies you need to succeed. I'm Elizabeth, a college professor and a test prep expert with Study.com. Together, we'll break down practice questions, spot context clues, and avoid common traps, so you can walk into test day fully prepared. The Praxis 5025 covers various subjects relevant to early childhood education, including language and literacy, mathematics, social studies, science and health, physical education, and creative and performing arts. We'll work through real practice questions, explain the correct answers, and show why the others are wrong. Stick around to the end for important exam information. All right, let's get into it. A kindergarten teacher is helping children learn to recognize that the words cat and cap differ by their final sound. This activity is best described as developing A. Phonemic awareness, B. Alphabetic principle, C. Print awareness, or D. Decoding skills. For this question, I would suggest to watch out for language that talks about hearing or identifying sounds in spoken words, not reading or writing, as a clear indicator of phonemic awareness. So review the strategies of phonological awareness and how phonemic awareness fits within that continuum. With that in mind, we can eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with B. Alphabetic principle refers to understanding the relationship between letters and sounds, not isolating those sounds orally. Next, we can eliminate option C. Print awareness. That involves recognizing print in the environment or understanding that print carries meaning. Lastly, we can eliminate option D, decoding skills, which involves reading and using letter sound knowledge to pronounce words. So the correct answer here is option A, phonemic awareness, which is the ability to recognize and manipulate individual sounds, phonemes, in spoken words. Here, students are distinguishing between cat and cap, or t and p. A first grade teacher reads The Very Hungry Caterpillar and asks students to retell the sequence of events using beginning, middle, and end. This activity supports A. Vocabulary development, B. Comprehension of narrative structure, C. Phonics skills, or D. Print awareness. One tip with a question like this: when questions are referring to story retelling, sequence, or plot structure, comprehension is going to be the focus. Let's begin by eliminating the incorrect options first, starting with A, vocabulary development. Although vocabulary is reinforced here, vocabulary development would involve teaching new words. We can next eliminate option C, phonics skills, because that relates to decoding and sound symbol correspondence, which is not relevant in this scenario. Lastly, we can eliminate option D, print awareness, which is more focused on recognizing the form and function of print, which is also not the goal here. That leaves us with the correct answer, B, comprehension of narrative structure. Retelling the beginning, middle, and end of a story promotes understanding of narrative structure. This activity strengthens comprehension, particularly of story elements in sequence. A teacher asks students to write a class letter to a local firefighter, with the teacher modeling sentence structure on chart paper. This best illustrates A. Shared writing, B. Independent writing, C. Guided reading, or D. Phonemic awareness. Let's begin by picking out the context clues in this question. The teacher is modeling sentence structure on chart paper. Key phrases like modeling, teacher writes, class-generated text are cues for shared writing. With that in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options, starting with B, independent writing. This is a student-directed activity and does not involve teacher modeling, so we would not choose that. We would also eliminate option C, guided reading, because that activity would focus on reading instruction, not writing. We can then eliminate option D, phonemic awareness, since that involves sound play, not composing a text. The correct answer would be A, shared writing. Shared writing is a teacher-led activity where the teacher models writing skills while composing text based on the student's input. Modeling sentence structure on chart paper is a hallmark of this approach. Remember when studying to review the components of a balanced literacy program and how shared writing supports emergent writers. During circle time, students are encouraged to listen to a peer's story and then ask one question about it. This activity primarily develops A. Oral language skills, B. Phonological awareness, C. Vocabulary acquisition, or D. Handwriting fluency. Let's focus on the components of the question here. If students are interacting verbally in meaningful ways, the question is likely assessing oral language skills. With that in mind, we can eliminate the incorrect options first, beginning with B, phonological awareness. That is about sound play, not conversational skills. Next, we can eliminate option C, vocabulary acquisition, because that would require exposure to new words, which is not a part of the context here. Next up, we can eliminate option D, handwriting fluency. This is unrelated to oral interactions, so it is not relevant in this question. That leaves us with our correct answer, which would be A, oral language skills. This activity involves both listening and speaking, which are essential components of oral language development. To study for this type of question, focus on the development of listening and speaking skills as they are foundational to literacy. A preschool child says, "I have 3 blocks, and if I get 2 more, I will have 5. This shows early understanding of A. Counting on strategy, B. Subitizing, C. One-to-one correspondence, or D. Skip counting. Let's begin by eliminating the incorrect options first. Starting with option B, subitizing refers to instantly recognizing small quantities without counting. Not a relevant strategy for an early learner. We can eliminate option C. One-to-one correspondence is the ability to match each object counted with one number, which is not the case in this scenario. Next, we can eliminate option D, because skip counting involves counting by 2s, 5s, 10s, etc. The correct answer is option A, counting on strategy. The child demonstrates counting on by starting from an existing quantity and adding more. This strategy shows an advanced understanding of addition beyond rote counting. Which expression equals 14? Would it be A, 10 plus 3 plus 1, B, 7 times 3, C, 20 minus 4, or D, 2 times 8? Now, this is a straightforward computation question, and the goal is to test your ability to check each expression carefully. The test makers intentionally include answers that are near 14 to see if you'll rush through without checking carefully. So review mental math fluency across all operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and always compute every option instead of just assuming. Pay attention to distractors that are close to the target number, as they are meant to trip you up. With that in mind, let's go through the options real quick. We know option A is correct. 10 plus 3 plus 1 equals 14. Option B, 7 times 3 equals 21. Too high, but similar, 7, 14, and 21, is meant to distract you. Option C, 20 minus 4 equals 16. It's close, and with a quick glance, it might look like the correct option. So the point is, don't rush through, because option C is incorrect. Option D, 2 times 8 equals 16, another distractor that's close but also incorrect. So the point is, pay close attention and quickly do the math, whether mentally or on scrap paper, to ensure your correct response. A teacher cuts a pizza into 4 equal slices. A child eats 1 slice. Which fraction of the pizza is left? Would it be A, 1/4, B, 2/4, C, 3/4, or D, 4/4? When dealing with parts of a set, always subtract from the total to determine what remains. Quite often, it's suggested to use visual models to teach fractions of a whole. A pizza is a great visual model. Let's eliminate the incorrect options first. Starting with A, 1/4 is not the correct answer because 1/4 of the pizza is what was eaten. Option B is also incorrect because 2/4 is too few in this scenario. Option D is not correct either, since 4/4 indicates the pizza is still whole and uneaten. So the correct option here would be C, 3/4. If 1 slice out of 4 is eaten, 3 remain. That's 3 out of 4, or 3/4. A teacher gives children pattern blocks and asks them to combine 2 triangles to make a square. This activity develops A, spatial reasoning, B, fractions, C, probability, or D, skip counting. One study tip here would be to focus on how block play and shape manipulation support geometry skills in early childhood development. Again, anytime students are rotating, flipping, or joining shapes, we can assume that spatial reasoning is being assessed. With those facts in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with option B. Fractions are not being addressed in this context, although the same blocks may be used later to manipulate and develop fraction awareness. Option C is incorrect. Probability is unrelated to geometry. And option D is also incorrect. Skip counting is a number pattern skill, not a spatial skill. So that means option A, spatial reasoning, is correct. Manipulating and composing shapes builds understanding of geometric relationships. A student uses paper clips to measure the length of a pencil. This is an example of A, non-standard units of measurement, B, standard units of measurement, C, estimation, or D, perimeter. Let's keep in mind how young children learn measurement concepts through hands-on tools. Watch for indicators like cubes, hands, or feet, as they often indicate non-standard measurement tools. With that in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options, starting with B. Standard units would involve a ruler for inches or centimeters, which is not being used here. Let's eliminate option C, estimation, because that involves guessing rather than measuring. We can eliminate option D. Perimeter refers to the boundary around a shape, not length like in this scenario. That means option A is the correct choice, non-standard units of measurement. Paper clips are informal units, not standard units like on a ruler. So this is an example of using non-standard units. Which activity best helps young children build a positive self-identity? Would it be A, comparing themselves to celebrities, B, creating all about me books, C, memorizing historical figures, or D, studying world geography? One thing I want to point out in this question, anytime children are asked to reflect on or describe themselves, identity is at the center. And if we're looking at positive self-identity, focus on exploring social emotional learning strategies that help develop self-awareness and identity. With those things in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options. Starting with option A, we would not want our students comparing themselves to celebrities because that very well may lower their self-esteem. We can eliminate option C. Memorizing historical figures focuses on content, not personal identity. Let's eliminate option D. World geography is focusing on social studies and is not identity focused. That leaves us with the correct option, which is B. Creating all about me books. This activity encourages children to reflect on their traits, interests, and backgrounds and fosters a strong sense of self. When students vote on a class mascot, they are practicing A, democracy, B, dictatorship, C, federalism, or D, monarchy. One thing I want to point out about this question, anytime we see the term voting, that always aligns with democratic concepts. You should review basic civic terms in the context of early childhood examples to prepare for a question like this. Let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options, starting with B, dictatorship, which involves rule by one. We can eliminate C, federalism, which refers to layers of government, not applicable here. We can remove D, monarchy, because that involves inherited leadership, also not the case in this scenario. So that means the correct answer is A, democracy. Voting is a foundational element of democratic participation and giving students practice in shared decision-making. A teacher shows children a globe and points out oceans and continents. This activity develops A, geographic awareness, B, economic literacy, C, historical sequencing, or D, civic responsibility. Let's look at the context clues in this question. Whenever you see the words globe, map, or location, those are all going to be indicators of geographic awareness. Familiarize yourself with early geographic standards. With that in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options, starting with option B. Economic literacy would involve money or trade and is not applicable here. we can eliminate option C, historical sequencing, as that relates to time and chronology. Then you can eliminate option D, civic responsibility, because that involves behavior and community roles, also not applicable in this scenario. The correct answer is option A, geographic awareness. Using a globe builds understanding of landforms and world layout, which are geographic concepts. A teacher places a toy car at the top of a ramp and releases it. Students observe how far it travels on different surfaces. This experiment demonstrates A, friction affects motion, B, sound travels in waves, C, plants need sunlight to grow, or D, objects can float in water. As a study tip, you should always review basic physical science concepts for young children. With those things in mind, let's eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with option B. Sound travels in waves is true, and it is science, but this is unrelated to rolling cars and surfaces. Next, we can eliminate option C. Plants do need sunlight to grow, but that's a life science concept and not connected to the experiment at hand. Now we can eliminate option D. Objects can float in water. That is also true, but that's investigating buoyancy, which does not apply to this scenario. Look for what's changing in the problem here. The only difference is the surface the car travels on. That clue is pointing us to the correct answer, which is A, friction affects motion. The key concept being demonstrated is that friction changes the way objects move. A smoother surface creates less friction, so the car rolls farther, while a rougher surface creates more friction, slowing the car down. Which activity best promotes fine motor development in preschoolers? Would it be A, running a relay race, B, cutting paper with scissors, C, throwing a ball, or D, jumping rope? The study tip here would be to focus on the difference between gross motor skills and fine motor skills, so you can identify which activities support each. With that in mind, we can eliminate options A, C, and D. Running a relay race, throwing a ball, or jumping rope are all gross motor activities. Option B, cutting paper with scissors, is the correct option. Cutting builds coordination and strengthens the small muscles of the hands and fingers. That is the core component of fine motor development. A kindergarten teacher plays a variety of drum rhythms and asks children to clap along. This activity primarily supports A, auditory discrimination and rhythm awareness, B, phonemic awareness, C, visual motor integration, or D, handwriting fluency. This question wants you to recognize that the role of music in early auditory and language development is an important one. Activities that involve rhythm, listening, and movement to sound alignment support auditory development. With that in mind, we can eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with B, phonemic awareness. That is about identifying spoken sounds in words, not rhythm. We can eliminate C, visual motor integration, because that involves coordinating sight and movement, which was not outlined in this scenario. We can eliminate C, visual motor integration, because that involves coordinating sight and movement, which was not outlined in this scenario. Then we can eliminate option D, handwriting fluency. That's just there to distract you and is unrelated to this question. The correct answer is option A, auditory discrimination and rhythm awareness. Clapping along trains children to hear, differentiate, and replicate sound patterns. This supports both rhythm and auditory discrimination. Great work reviewing these early childhood education questions for the Praxis 5025. Now that you've gone through some sample questions, let's focus on the competency that this test is really measuring. The Praxis Early Childhood Education Exam 5025 includes 120 selected response questions and has a 2-hour time limit. Candidates are evaluated on their understanding of the content within 5 categories. The largest section of the exam, 30%, focuses on literacy, language arts, and reading. 25% of the exam evaluates mathematical knowledge for young learners. Social studies makes up 14% of the test and includes aspects of social and emotional development, self-efficacy, and conflict resolution. 14% of the exam assesses knowledge in basic science, and the final 17% of the exam includes topics related to health, physical activity, fine arts, and performance arts. In order to prepare, test takers should be sure to learn about the exam, utilize a range of study tools, and organize their study time. If you need more support, Study.com has prep courses that include full-length practice exams, hundreds of realistic questions, and short video lessons to keep your studying focused. And 92% of users who use our courses pass their exams, so why not you? Got questions or need help with another competency? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If this video helped you, give it a like and subscribe for more targeted test prep. Thanks for watching and good luck. You've got this.